Hello and welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Today we look at a British actor, rapper and model who appeared in The Great Gatsby as told how his Hollywood dreams were destroyed after he was jailed for fraud and weapons charges. Ben Fiberesima, 31, was living the high life, jetting around the world for jobs with Nike, Calvin Klein and Yes St. Laurent and dating supermodels. The pinnacle was a cameo role alongside Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire in box office smash The Great Gatsby in 2013. But his world came crashing down a year later when he returned to the UK and was arrested by Met Police in an elaborate sting. Mr. Fiberesima, who goes by the moniker Rocky Million, was wanted over charges including theft, fraud and possession over a stun gun after he skipped bail in 2008. Detectives posed as casting agents and invited him to a modelling shoot before nabbing him at the entrance to the studios. Cheeky officers even called their fake company WOU Photography in reference to the Wanted Offenders Unit. Mr. Fiberesima was sentenced to 3 years and went from rubbing shoulders with celebs to sharing a prison wing with rapists and murderers in some of Britain's toughest jails, HMP Wandsworth and HMP Tyneside. Now free after serving 60 weeks inside, Mr. Fiberesima has spoken for the first time of how he went from the champagne lifestyle to doing porridge. The transition from catwalk to prison is not one that many people take, he told local news. Being on Hollywood movie sets in Australia, at mansion parties, pool parties, limousine rides, crazy parties with celebrities, then going into prison. Prison is Earth's version of hell. The showers were more like bins. Sometimes I'd woken up at the night by the protests from the rats. That's how bad it was. The rats were complaining. It was terrible. You'd see condoms on the floor, dirty underwear, chewed up food, male semen. It was hardly ever cleaned. Mr. Fiberesima said his life inside became a daily battle to evade the extreme violence between inmates fueled by rampant drug use and the inertia of endless hours spent in a tiny cell. Violence in prison can be like flash flood, he said. It appears suddenly and does a lot of damage. Sometimes you are locked up for 22 or 23 hours a day. When you finally get let out, you've got all this pent-up aggression. Some people, they don't know what to do with themselves, so they end up fighting. My first time out in the yard, within minutes I saw 5 people punching and stabbing this one dude, and I'm just standing and watching. The screws got there eventually, but the damage was done. I'm sitting there reading my book thinking, welcome to hell. There was one incident where a guy wanted to kill me over some apple crumble. I thought that was quite hilarious. I was on the servery. I was doing it because I was basically bored of my life and you got more time out of your cell if you did it. He wasn't happy with his portion of apple crumble. He was really angry. We got into an altercation. The guy was bigger than me, 6 foot 4 inches, quite athletic, but he wasn't very fit. I do quite a lot of training. I've got a boxing background, so I handled myself okay. And the amount of drugs in jail is huge. It's easier to get them in jail than it is to get them out there, and cheaper. Never took anything myself, but you can get whatever you want. Heroin, cocaine, spice. I learned how to make my own alcohol in there. You could get drugs in exchange for canteen items, for a few packs of biscuits. Mr. Fiberesima said he learnt to survive by befriending some of the jail's most hardened criminals, often helping them to improve their reading skills. That earned me a lot of favours. Some people I helped out belongs to the biggest crime families in this country, he said. One of Mr. Fiberesima's closest companions became Derek Rossi, a prolific armed robber who has been handed 4 life sentences. And while on remand, he played blackjack with Siddhartha Camacho Vallejo, a violent stalker who was later sentenced to 10 years for repeatedly stabbing his ex-boyfriend. Mr. Fiberesima said, in prison, Mr. Camacho was quite calm. He would be in the library a lot. He did tell me he was there on an attempted murder, but it wasn't until later I read about the case. Having been a free man for several months, Mr. Fiberesima is now trying to rebuild his life and his career. He said, when I was in jail I must have lost £15,000 in modelling jobs and missed my best friend's wedding. I lost quite a lot and it makes you think, is this life the life I want to live? Experience it once was enough. I never want to go back. It's the biggest mistake of my life. Now I want to educate young people about the reality of prison. They need to understand the eventuality of having a weapon. Never pick up a knife, stun gun, not anything. You'll end up in prison for sure. So what are your thoughts about Mr. Fiberesima and how he went from the luxury lifestyle of working with celebrities and being a model in Hollywood to then being in prison? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, stay safe.